Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Thanks to you, our listeners, and your work with our Buy Me a Coffee campaign at classicradio.stream, we have acquired another brand new series of shows. Casey Crime Photographer. This stars Staats Cotsworth, was originally broadcast August 29, 1946. This episode entitled The Red Raincoat.
Well, Casey, how are you coming along with that crossword puzzle?
Well, I'm stuck, Ethelbert, for a 7-letter name beginning with H, and it's a place in Ohio.
That's a tough one, Casey.
Not for me, boys, not for me.
Hiya, Tony.
Hi, fellas. Yes, sir, the word you're looking for is Hocking. Hocking. The Hocking Valley.
Hey, that fits. Hey, I get it. Anchor hockey.
Oh, you said it, Casey. Anchor Hocking, the world's largest makers of household glass. Crime Photographer, brought to you by Fire King Oven Glass. Anchor glass containers, Anchor caps and closures. All products of Anchor Hocking, a great name in glass. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Marvin. Every week at this time, the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation brings you another adventure of Casey, crime photographer, ace cameraman who covers the crime news of a great city. Written by Alonzo Dean Cole, our adventure for tonight, The Red Raincoat.
Night, about 9:30. Rain. Hard, pelting rain that has driven people indoors and left the streets deserted. At the corner, a bus stop. A woman alights from it. She wears a red hooded raincoat that covers her head and most of her face. She turns into a side street lined with cheap walk-up apartment houses. Midway of the block, she's about to pass the entrance to an alley when, from its darkness, there's a gunshot. Then another. The woman falls. On the street, brakes are hastily applied to a cruising taxi. As it comes to a skidding halt, the driver...
Police! Take cover!
I heard those shots. Where?
From that alley, I think. I didn't see no one.
Oh, this dame got it in the back.
3 bullet holes.
Stay here, fella. Don't let anybody touch her. I'm going to look in that alley. Get back, you people! Get back! This ain't a free show. There's been a murder here.
Push him back, Paletti, so I'll have room to shoot a picture.
I'm doing the best I can, Casey. Move, you folks, move.
That's better. There's one for page 1. Now,
That'll be all, Casey.
well, look who's finally got here, my old pal Logan.
How often do I have to tell you that no press pictures are to be taken at the scene of a homicide until after the police photographers get through?
Oh, I've got a rotten memory, haven't I, chum?
By rights, I ought to take that camera away from you.
Oh, no, you wouldn't do that to me, not with all these people looking on.
Oh, nuts. You cop! Push this mob back. Clear the block so we'll have room to move around. Sergeant.
Yes, Captain.
Tell me what happened here.
Oh, I can tell you that, Logan.
Huh?
A cab driver, that little guy over there, heard 3 shots fired from the alley here and saw this gal in the red raincoat pulled up on the sidewalk.
Yeah?
A uniformed cop, this guy right here, heard the shots too, searched the alley and found nothing. Well, all the rest is up to you.
What does Doc's report show, Sergeant?
He said the woman was killed instantly, Captain. One of those bullet holes is in line with the heart. Of course, he can't be sure it followed that line through her body until she's turned over.
Well, don't do that when my tech men get through.
No, sir.
Anyone find out who the woman is?
Not yet, sir. When we can go through her pockets, we'll probably find something that'll...
And Williams is circulating through that crowd, Logan, trying to locate someone who might know... Say, here she comes now with a fat face.
Hello, Captain.
Hello, Miss Williams.
Casey, this lady thinks she recognizes the dead woman.
Well, that's swell, Andy. If you can identify her, lady, your picture will be in the paper.
Say, I happen to be in charge here.
Oh, excuse us, Logan.
Who do you think the dead woman is, lady?
Well, as I was just telling this young newspaper woman, officer, I can't be sure because the poor thing is lying on her face. But I'm almost positive that's the body of Nora Gellhorn, because she had a red raincoat exactly like that. She's the only woman in this neighborhood who'd wear anything so flashy. And I've got a notion that a certain person wanted her out of the way.
Huh? What do you mean by that?
Well, her husband, officer, has been carrying on something disgraceful with another woman. Mrs. Gellhorn told me that herself. And she wasn't the sort who'd let a man divorce her just because he happened to fall in love with somebody else. So I think...
That her husband shot her?
Oh, I know it's an awful thing to say, mister, but from the goings-on I've heard about it, I think he's been planning to put her out of the way for a long time. As I was saying to my eldest daughter, Eloise, only last night...
Where do these Gellhorns live?
Oh, over there in the corner building on this side of the street. That's number 371, apartment 4C. I live in the apartment house next door. I'm Mrs. Patch, Mrs. Ida Patch. I said to my eldest daughter only last night...
Excuse me, Mrs. Patch. Who's the other woman in this case, the one you say Gellhorn's been carrying on with?
Oh, her name's Randall, Emma Randall. She and her husband live in the same building as the Gellhorns. Their apartment's directly across from mine.
Hey, wait a minute. This Emma Randall has a husband?
Yeah, poor man. Hey, you know, he stands in the way of Ferris Gellhorn's plans, too, so if you policemen don't act fast and put that murderer behind bars,
We'll act fast, Mrs. Patch, if a checkup shows that your story is
Oh,
okay.
you'll find it's true, all right. I'm not the only person in this block who's been expecting a thing like this to happen.
Captain Logan.
Yes, Sergeant?
The photographers and tech men are finished. You can examine the body now.
Come on, Mrs. Patch. I want you to make your identification positive.
Oh, I hate to look at the poor thing. Oh, well, Captain, I know my duty.
Will you turn the body over, Doctor, so we can see the face? Thanks.
She wasn't a bad-looking gal, Annie.
Nope. Kind of pretty.
Oh.
What's the matter, Mrs. Patch?
Wait, that isn't Nora Gellhorn.
It isn't.
No, that's Emma Randall.
The woman you said Gellhorn was in love with?
Yeah, but that's Nora Gellhorn's raincoat. I'm sure of it now that I see it close.
Since Mrs. Gellhorn isn't inside of it, you'll have to revise your theory. I guess you don't think Gellhorn would shoot the woman he's in love with.
No, he was crazy about Mrs. Randall. He wouldn't shoot her.
Too bad, Logan. For a few minutes, it looked as though you had a sweet suspect in a case that was half sewed up.
Well, it may still be that way. Mrs. Patch, what kind of a guy is Randall, this dead woman's husband?
Well, he's a nice, quiet kind of man.
Quiet kind,
yeah.
huh? Did he know about his wife and Gellhorn?
Oh, he must have. Everybody knew.
He sounds like the answer, Casey. This guy Randall stood all he could, then waited for his wife tonight and paid her off.
James Randall wouldn't do that. He couldn't have done it.
I'm afraid that's something you can't be sure of, lady.
But I am sure. Mr. Randall hasn't been outside of his apartment since early this evening. He was inside it when I heard shooting down here on the street.
How do you know he was inside?
Well, his living room window was just across the court from mine. One of his shades was up a few inches, and I saw him over there, lying on the couch.
You saw him?
Well, just by accident, of course. I never spy on my neighbors.
Well, that's that, Logan.
Yeah.
But there's another possible angle.
What?
That red raincoat. Mistaken identity.
Gellhorn may have thought he was shooting his wife.
That's it, Annie.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Mrs. Patch, you're sure this is Mrs. Gellhorn's raincoat?
Oh, I'm positive. I recognize it by those peculiar buttons and that little mended place on the right shoulder.
Well, have you any idea why Mrs. Randall should have been wearing it?
Well, I suppose Nora Gellhorn lent it to her.
Weren't they enemies?
Well, not outwardly. Like most jealous women, they made believe they were friends. Would have made things kind of difficult if they didn't, seeing as they not only lived in the same house, but worked in the same restaurant.
Worked in the same
Yeah,
restaurant?
Harley's Grill. They're both waitresses there.
Do you know if Mrs. Gellhorn or her husband are home now?
No, I don't. Their windows aren't on my side of the house.
That's too bad.
Let's find out for ourselves, Logan.
We will, Casey. Sergeant, take charge here.
Yes, sir.
Have Martin take Mrs. Patch down to headquarters and get a complete deposition from her.
Oh, I'd much rather go with you, Captain.
You and the captain can get together later, Mrs. Patch, but I'll shoot that picture of you now.
For the paper, Mr. Casey?
The best paper in town.
Oh, goodness, I look just a fright in this old coat. On account of the rain, I didn't get...
Fine clothes on you would only gild the lily.
Oh, Mr. Casey.
Well, now, just stand just as you are. Hold that bewitching smile. That does it.
You want to take another?
If he does, he's staying here without me. Come on, Miss Williams.
I'll take more shots of you later, Mrs. Patch. Coming, Logan.
August 29th, 1946, Casey, crime photographer on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to MediShare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And MediShare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of Casey Crime Photographer starring Staats Cotsworth, The Red Raincoat from August 29th, 1946.
Try to pull yourself together, Mr. Randall. I'm sorry we've had to bring you such rotten news.
My wife. Dead.
Tough, fella.
Please let me go to her. I got to see her.
Not now.
Later, pal.
Yeah, but she's lying down there in the street, you say, in the rain.
They'll have taken her away by now, Mr. Randall. You can go to her when you get a little more used to the idea of what you'll have to see.
Maybe that'll be better. Who killed her, Captain? Who shot my wife?
Well, we hope you may be able to help us find that out.
I don't know. I can't help you.
Before we came to you, we stopped at the Gellhorn's apartment. Nobody was home.
Why'd you stop there?
Well, we want to meet Mr. Gellhorn, especially. He a friend of yours?
He's a neighbor.
I see.
You've been talking to people, Captain. Someone's been telling you things.
Oh, frankly, yes. Randall, do you think...
No. Ferris Gellhorn would be the last man in the world who would kill my wife.
That wasn't the question I meant to ask you. You think he's the sort who would kill his own wife?
I don't know.
Now, when you let us in here, Mr. Randall, you said you'd been asleep.
Yeah, I was tired and I came home from work and I lay down on the couch there.
Well, what time was that?
It was around 6:30, Mr. Casey. I slept until your knock at the door woke me up.
There was plenty of daylight when you fell asleep, around 6:30, Mr. Randall. Why did you turn the electric lights on then?
The lights?
Yeah. We saw a crack of light under the door before we knocked and woke you up.
Well, you see, when my wife was working late, Mr. Casey, I always turned the light on for her if I was going out or going to sleep. You see, she hated to come home to a dark apartment.
Will you keep your big mouth shut, Casey, and let me handle this?
It was a question we wanted answered, wasn't it?
Well, I'd have asked the question, and I'll check on the answer. Now, you attend to your job and let me attend to mine.
Okay, I'll take some pictures.
Now?
Well, Morning Express readers will want to know what the dead woman's apartment looks like. That'll be a good shot of this living room. Now I'll get into the bedroom.
Yeah.
Mr. Randall, you must try to pull yourself together. You just must.
Yeah, I'll do my best, Miss Williams.
How long had you been married, Randall?
8 years.
When did you and your wife meet the Gellhorns?
Well, about 2 years ago, Captain.
What sort of a fellow is Gellhorn?
I hate the guys inside. He's a lousy wolf and a double-crosser. But if you suspect him of her murder, I know you're wrong. He wanted her to live. He didn't want her dead.
This man sounds like a square shooter, Captain.
Yeah, he does, Miss Williams.
Check me down on that, too.
So you're back again, Casey.
Mm-hmm. I didn't want to miss anything.
Who's there?
Plenty, Captain.
Come in.
We found Mrs. Gellhorn.
Oh, is this...
I'm Nora Gellhorn, Captain. This officer came to the restaurant for me. He told me why.
Sit down, Mrs. Gellhorn. I've got to ask you some questions.
Just a minute, please. Jim.
Yeah, Nora.
You know I didn't like your wife. I had plenty of reason not to, but now I'm very sorry for you.
Thank you.
Now, Captain, what did you want to know?
Well, first, Mrs. Gellhorn, did you lend Mrs. Randall the raincoat she wore tonight?
Yes, I did. It was pouring when she got through work, and she didn't even have an umbrella with her. I was working late tonight in another girl's place, and I figured the rain had stopped by the time I finished, so I said take my coat.
And you remained at the restaurant after Mrs. Randall left there, Mrs. Gellhorn?
Yes, I did.
I checked, and Mrs. Gellhorn was in the restaurant when Mrs. Randall was shot, Captain.
Oh, okay, plenty.
Mrs. Gellhorn.
Yes?
You said you worked late tonight in another girl's place?
That's right.
And do you usually come home at the same time as Mrs. Randall?
Usually.
Did your husband expect you at the usual time tonight?
I guess so. I didn't bother to tell him. He doesn't care when I come home or if I come home.
That looks like the payoff, Casey.
Yeah.
You know where your husband is tonight, Mrs. Gellhorn?
Well, he told me he was going to the movies.
What theater?
I don't know. You might find him at any of the neighborhood theaters, except the 4th Avenue. He went there last night to see Lost Holiday.
We'll pick him up. Sergeant Flanagan's posted guys at all the theaters around here, Captain. And that Mrs. Patch gave us a first-class description of Gellhorn.
So Mrs. Patch is the one who's been telling you cops things.
She told us nothing that you and Mr. Randall haven't verified, Mrs. Gellhorn.
Oh, all right, then. My husband has been two-timing both me and Jim Randall here. But if you've got an idea that he killed Emma, you're wrong.
I've told him that, Nora.
Well, Mrs. Gellhorn, do you think he'd have liked you out of the way and Randall here, so he and Mrs. Randall would be free to get married?
Well, sure he'd have liked that, but I know that he wouldn't.
Come in.
We've got Gellhorn, sir.
I'm all ready for him, Sergeant.
He's downstairs. You want him brought up here?
Yeah, wait a minute. He hasn't been told anything.
Oh, not a word, sir.
Where'd you get him?
Coming out of the 4th Avenue Theater.
4th Avenue?
You said he'd seen the show there, Mrs. Gellhorn.
Well, I thought he had last night. I can't understand.
I can. Go into that bedroom, Mrs. Gellhorn.
Into the bedroom?
For just a few minutes. Close the door and don't come out till I call you. Then come out quick.
All right, I'll do it, but I don't see...
Okay, Sergeant. Have Gellhorn brought up.
Yes, sir. The captain will see him up here, Pete. Come on.
The old surprise treatment for Gellhorn, Logan.
Yeah. His reaction when he sees his wife alive is all I need now.
Certainly looks as though...
Everything fits. Even the theater where they picked him up. He'd seen the picture there, so he could describe every part of it that was shown while he was waiting in that alley.
He went there after the shooting to establish an alibi.
Sure, Miss
Sure he
Reagan.
is, Captain.
Bring him in.
You don't have this job.
I'm Captain Logan Gellhorn.
You're the boss of these monkeys who've been putting a muscle on me. What's the big idea?
We're simply doing a little investigating, Mr. Gellhorn.
Investigating what? And why here? Randall, what's your part in this? Why have I been brought to his apartment?
I'll explain, Gellhorn, if you need an explanation after... Lady, come out of that bedroom. You in that bedroom, come out.
Nora.
Think you're looking at a ghost, Gellhorn?
What's my wife doing here?
She's the last person you expected to see, isn't she? You thought she was dead.
Why,
So wipe that phony look of innocence off your face. The woman who wore your wife's red raincoat tonight was Emma Randall.
Huh?
She's dead.
Emma's dead?
Yes, Gellhorn, with 3 bullets in her back that you put there.
I
get it now, Captain. He mistook her for me in my raincoat.
He killed my wife. Let me out of my camera. Take him, boys. I've got him, Captain. Not before I get a picture. What's this all about?
You know, Gellhorn. I'm arresting you on a charge of murder.
Me? Murder?
Got a shot of that, too?
All right, boys, let's get him back to headquarters.
Oh, you can't do this. You don't know what you're doing.
Well, come on, Casey. This case is all sewed up. Let's get our stuff to the paper.
Okay, Annie. But I wonder
What?
if this case is sewed up right.
After what you and Miss Williams have told me, Casey, I can't see any doubt of that fella Gellhorn's guiltiness.
There isn't any doubt, Ethelbert, except in Casey's much too active imagination.
Oh, Annie, you've closed your mind like Logan.
Oh.
You two had so completely sold yourselves on Gellhorn's guilt before you saw him that nothing could unsell you. It'd mean a thing to you, for instance, when Logan's big surprise act laid an egg.
Oh, that.
Gellhorn didn't act as if he was looking at a ghost when his wife stepped out of that bedroom.
Well, so what? He probably got a flash of Emma Randall's face after he shot her, realized the big mistake he'd made, and was all prepared.
Well, that's possible, yeah. You know, Mrs. Gellhorn took longer than she should have to come out of that bedroom. And then she looked more nervous than her husband. I'd like to know why.
Oh, Casey, you're trying to make something out of such little things.
The parts of the case fit too smoothly, Annie, as though they'd been oiled by somebody. But I can't figure it out. Oh, nuts.
You know, this Gellhorn business is a lot like another murder I read about. It happened over in England.
That's the Haslington murder, yeah?
Haslington was the name of the gal who got shot. You know about it, huh?
Yeah, Ethelbert.
Oh, that's a famous old-timer, Ethelbert. Happened before any one of us were born.
It was all news to me when I read it a couple of months ago in a detective magazine. They called it The Case of the Sable Cloak.
Case of the Sable... Yeah, detective magazine would. Say, you know, I promised to show you those pictures I took last night that the paper didn't have space for.
Yeah, I'd like to see them.
Here's a print of the Randall living room. This is the bedroom, and here's Mrs. Patch.
And will she be sore because her picture didn't make the paper? She's the woman who gave us the lead on Gellhorn.
Ain't she a funny-looking old dame? Look at the...
Yes.
She's a dangerous old dame, I'll tell you. Say, wait a minute. Give me that picture I took of the bedroom.
What?
I noticed it before, but it didn't register. Look at the pillows on the bed.
Well, they're just pillows.
Yeah, but they're on top of the bedspread, uncovered.
I don't
Randall's
see...
alibi, Annie.
What?
Anne, now wait a minute. Look at this picture of the living room. The window shades are pulled to within a few inches at the bottom. Now, that narrow space is all Mrs. Patch had to look through when she saw Randall lying on the couch.
What have pillows in the bedroom got to do
That's
with...
what I'd like to know.
Ethelbert, you say you read about the Haslington murder in a recent magazine. Was the magazine True Murder Chronicles?
Yeah, but it was called The Case of the Sable Cloak. What does it?
You've been a great help to me tonight, pal, and to Ferris Gellhorn.
I?
Come on, Annie. We're going to pay another call on Emma Randall's husband.
Well, okay, Casey, but I'd still like to know...
So would I. But what was the... Oh, they always do that to me.
Who's that?
Casey, Mr. Randall, and Miss Williams. May we come in? It's important.
Just a minute.
Casey, how are you going
You'll
to...
soon know, Annie. A door just closed inside there.
Oh, what? I don't know why you haven't told me all you
I've
think.
been too busy thinking to tell you anything.
Come in.
Thanks, Randall.
Sit down, Miss Williams.
Thank you.
Casey.
I'll rest on my feet, thanks.
What have you come to see me about?
New evidence in your wife's murder.
New evidence?
Yeah. Gellhorn didn't kill her.
What do you mean?
Say, it's awful stuffy in here. You mind if I lift this shade and raise the window a little?
Since you're already doing it.
Thanks.
August 29th, 1946, Casey, crime photographer. The conclusion follows these important messages on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Whether you're taking your pets on the road or a walk around the block, you need to be aware of heat stroke. Hi, I am Dr. Jose Arce, immediate past president of the American Veterinary Medical Association. It's important that pets get out and enjoy the warm weather and fresh air, but here are some reminders to help keep your pets safe in the heat. Tune into the day's forecast to see how hot it will be. Limit exercise on hot days or schedule walks earlier or later on the day when it's cooler. If outside, stay on the grass instead of the hot pavement. Make sure your pet has unlimited fresh water and access to shade. Never leave your pet in a closed vehicle, and leave your pet at home in air conditioning when you go out. If you see signs of heat strokes in your pet, such as excessive panting, drooling, unsteadiness, or abnormal gum and tongue color, call your veterinarian or nearest emergency clinic. For more info on summer pet safety, visit avma.org. That's avma.org.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Casey, crime photographer, and the Red Raincoat, as it was originally broadcast August 29th, 1946.
Randall, you ever read a story called The Case of the Sable Cloak?
No.
It's funny. It was published only a few months ago in True Murder Chronicles. And I noticed several issues of that magazine here last evening.
Well, those magazines belong to my wife. I never read them.
I see. Well, this particular story told about a rich Englishman who fell hard for a gal named Haslington. He wanted to marry her, but he had a wife. His wife owned a sable coat, and one night he shot and killed a woman who was wearing that coat, but the woman had borrowed it from his wife, and the woman was Miss Haslington.
Well, that's like Gellhorn and Emma.
Yeah. The cops were pretty sure to remember the famous Haslington case if a similar murder occurred, and to jump to a conclusion based upon it, see? If everything was previously arranged to point that way. Don't you think so?
I don't know.
Oh, sure you do.
I tell you,
now, the guy who really murdered your wife was fairly smart. He started to point suspicion toward where he wanted to fall soon after that magazine story gave him his big idea. And he figured a pretty fair alibi. He even had an excuse for a light to burn when it shouldn't have, so he could be seen in a place where he wasn't.
What are you driving at?
After the murder, he continued to play smart. He denied his belief in Gellhorn's guilt while constantly pointing the finger at him. And he got rid of the clothes he'd worn out in the rain. I looked for them while I was in your bedroom last night.
You're accusing me?
Because you slipped up on a little detail last night, and because tonight, the two of you made a bigger mistake.
Keep away from that door.
Come out of that room, Mrs. Gellhorn. Come out.
All right. Here I am.
You shouldn't have let your murder partner come here to talk things over, Randall. You shouldn't have hidden her so clumsily before you let us in.
He knows, Nora. He knows everything.
Shut up, Jim. He wouldn't have known anything if you hadn't said that.
It doesn't matter now, does it?
Yes, it does. Don't make a move. Ooh. That means you too, Miss Williams.
Is that the gun your boyfriend used to kill his wife with?
If it is, you'll never prove it.
Nora, what are you going to do?
The only thing to do, Jim. Kill these people. They know you killed your wife and that I helped you. They can send us to the chair.
You'll never get away with it.
We'll tell the police you broke in here and I shot you in self-defense.
Just a second, Mrs. Gellhorn. I want to go on living. And I've arranged things so I will.
How do you mean?
You've forgotten. I opened that window.
Window? Mrs. Patch.
She's been getting an eyeful and an earful.
I'll have you know, Mr. Casey, that I only happened to be at this window by accident.
I believe you, Mrs. Patch. Give me that gun, Mrs. Gellhorn. Thank you. Now, you two smart killers, sit down and wait for the cops. Go on, Randall. Phone headquarters, Annie.
Okay, Casey. After I phoned City Desk. Oh, but wait a minute. You still haven't told me why those pillows on the top of the bed made
We'll
you
go
sick.
over to the Blue Note, Annie, and I'll tell you all about it.
All right.
Oh, Mrs. Patch.
Yeah?
I guarantee that your picture will be in the Express tomorrow.
Oh, Mr. Casey!
This Randall and Mrs. Gellhorn planned the killing so they could be free to tie up with one another, huh, Casey?
That's right, Ethelbert, yeah.
You still haven't told me what you had on Randall when you went to his place, Casey.
I didn't have anything, except the Haslington case you'd mentioned.
You mean the case of the sable cloak?
Okay, pal, the case of the sable cloak.
I think that's a nice title.
I only had that, a hunch about those bed pillars, and a hope that Randall would crack up and make an admission.
Yeah, what was your hunch about them bed pillows?
Well, I figured Randall might have rigged up a dummy to fool Mrs. Patch. That all she really saw were his pants and shirt stuffed with pillows.
And that was all she saw, too, Ethelbert. When Randall came back after the shooting, he got out of his wet clothes, put on the dry ones that had covered the dummy, and tossed the pillows back under the bed. But a little too carelessly.
What'd he do with the clothes he'd worn out in the rain?
Put them in Gellhorn's apartment. They belonged to Gellhorn. Randall had even worn his things.
Say, he and that Mrs. Gellhorn thought of almost everything.
Yes, Ethelbert. Almost everything.
You know, Casey, it's like my sister Edna says, quote, anything that's not worth doing is not worth doing well. Yeah, unquote.
Crime Photographer is directed by John Dietz and stars Staats Cotsworth as Casey. It is written by Alonzo Dean Cole and is based on the fictional character of Casey created by George Harmon Cox. Our cast included Miss Leslie Woods as Ann Williams and John Gibson as Ethelbert. The Blue Note pianist was Herman Chittison, and the original music was by Archie Blyer. Crime Photographer is brought to you each Thursday at this time by the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, and its more than 10,000 employees. Anchor Hocking. A great name in glass. Tony Marvin speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Once again, thanks to our people who've contributed through Buy Me a Coffee for us to acquire a whole library of Casey Crime Photographer. This one, August 29, 1946, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we go back to the weekend of August 29th, 1936, and an episode of The Adventures of Jungle Jim.
Presenting the adventures of Jungle Jim. Last week, Jungle Jim and Kolo were reunited when the native boy was thrown into the same dungeon cell with his master. At a meeting of the staff officers of the Purple Triangle, Derek Bluger proposed to raise needed funds for financing the revolution by making Lynn Chalmers write a letter to her father asking for £10,000 as a contribution to the cause, in return for which it was understood Lynn would be set free. Late that night, as a sentry stood watching a window in Bluger's castle quarters, A small metal tube was dropped at his feet. The thrilling adventures of Jungle Jim are pictured each Sunday in the Comic Weekly, the world's greatest pictorial supplement of humor and adventure. The Comic Weekly, each page printed in full colors, is distributed everywhere as an integral part of your Hearst Sunday newspaper. And now we continue our story. The Chinese sentry picks up the metal tube. Then, glancing around to make sure he is not observed, he makes his way inside the castle. Once inside, he silently goes to the door of the room from which the metal tube was thrown. There, he softly knocks at the door.
Oh, it's you.
Yes, Missy.
What's the matter? Didn't you get the tube?
Oh, yes, Missy.
Then what's happened? Were you seen picking it up?
No, Missy.
Did you do what I told you to?
No, Missy.
Why not? Wasn't the man you were to give it to where he was supposed to be?
I not knowing, Missy. I not looking see.
You didn't look for him?
No, Missy. I coming here at once.
But you agreed this afternoon
Yes,
that you...
Missy. You quite right. I agree to give metal tube to man waiting at far end of sentry post. But that was this afternoon.
Oh, I see. You're afraid you'll be caught. All right, coward. Give me back the metal tube. I can get somebody else to do this little job for me.
No. I will give it to man at end of sentry post.
Then hurry down there at once. The man you're to contact may not wait. Why did you waste time coming up here?
I not waste time, Missy. I come for money, you promise.
Oh, afraid I wouldn't pay you. Very well. Here's the $10 I said I'd give you.
American dollar?
Yes, of course, American dollars. You don't need to worry. They aren't counterfeit.
American dollar no good, Missy. Want money in Chinese dollar.
But that means 20 Chinese dollars.
Yes, Missy.
Raising the ante, are you?
Want money in Chinese dollar, Missy.
Well, I won't give it to you, you double-crossing lemon paste. Hand over my metal tube.
Missy no give me money in Chinese dollar?
I should say not.
Then I give metal tube to most high superior.
It's very important that this metal tube is delivered for me. Of course, you guessed that and decided to jack up your price. All right, you've got me in a spot. I'll pay you the 20 Chinese dollars. Here.
Many thanks, Missy. Will deliver metal tube as agreed?
Then hurry.
Yes, Missy, I hurry.
Hold me up with threats, Billy. I'll fix him.
Down in the dungeon cell, Jungle Jim and Kolo are discussing the situation in which they find themselves.
What we do now, Tuan Jim?
That's what we've got to plan, Kolo. We're in a tougher spot here than I was when Shanghai Lil had me in that wickerwork guest house of hers back in Burawani.
Yes, Tuan.
Back there, I was able to look-see all over her plantation from our cell. The Reverend and I were able to get out because while he worked, I stood guard. Then he stood guard while I worked.
Kolo, look for you, Tuan.
No, I know you would, old-timer, but it wouldn't do us any good. The Reverend and I were in a jail with a thatched roof. It was very easy to cut our way through. But, boy, we'd need dynamite to blast our way out of here.
Where we get dynamite, Tuan Jim?
We can't get any around here even if we wanted to, which we don't. You don't realize, Kolo, that if we tried to blast this dungeon open, we'd blast ourselves into pieces with it.
Kolo, no light. What we do, Tuan? How we get out?
The only way I can figure it, Kolo, is to get out one at a time.
Kolo, no savvy, Tuan.
Well, you told me Derek Bluger tried to bribe you to join his army, remember?
Yes, Tuan.
All right. You refused because you were loyal to me. Now, if we could make Bluger think you had turned against me and were willing to join him, he'd let you out. Savvy?
Yes, Tuan. Kolo, savvy. When Bluger let you out?
Well, that would have to be worked out. Later, perhaps, you could make him think that you wanted to torture me to get even with me.
Yes, Tuan.
Then he'd let you come down here alone, see?
Yes, Tuan.
You see, Kolo, the reason I want you out of here is so that you can be free to run around the camp and tell me how it's laid out and all about it.
Yes,
Then we can plan my escape. And I hope how we can capture this Derek Bluger and take him back alive.
Yes, Tuan. We fix.
It's just about time for that fat Oriental Lin Poo to make his round. Now, when he does, we'll start a fight. I'll pretend I'm good and sore at you and sock you.
Yes,
Then you tell him you're not going to be on my side anymore. Savvy?
Kolo, savvy.
And by that time, Lin Poo will have run up to see what's the matter. And you ask him to take you to Bluger. You want to join his army.
Maybe he say no.
Well, that's the chance we've got to take. If he says no, then we'll have to figure out something else.
Here, Lin Poo, Tuan.
Yeah, get that call. Here's I'm going to take a poke at you. This is going to hurt me as much as it does you, old-timer. But I've got to do it. Why, you double-faced, two-timey monkey, you! You can't get away with that! I'll teach you! Take that!
Stop fighting! No, do you hear? Stop fighting! What goes on here? Stop fighting, Bradley! Yen Sing, come here! Open the cell door, Yen Sing! Separate prisoners!
Here, stop that. Hey, why couldn't you mind your own business, you fat rice-eater? This was a private fight, and as soon as you go, I'll finish it.
Black man, what happened here?
I tell White One, I no like be on him side. Stay here in jail. Want to be on side you. White One, no like.
You bet I didn't. After all I've done for you, I picked you up in the jungle, clothed and fed you, educated you, and several times saved your miserable life. And this is the way you repay me.
So, a black man wants to join Purple Triangle Army?
Yes, it one.
The pupil has more sense than his teacher.
Yeah? That's what you think?
Yes, and more than that, I'm very sure of it. To have tried to make the black man a disciple of your misguided belief was, of course, inevitably futile.
Who says so?
The wise Lo Tse. He say, who is there who can make muddy water clear? But if allowed to remain undisturbed, it becomes clear of itself. Your countryman, our most high superior, Derek Bluger, has learned wisdom of saying...
Oh, has he?
When black man first arrived, he refused to join Purple Triangle. Did most high superior try to argue or persuade?
How do I know?
He did not. He allowed black man opportunity here for meditation. You see, reserve.
Yeah. Well, you can have this, black boy. I don't want him. And I shouldn't think you'd want anybody that was once lined up against you.
Purple Triangle Army is made up of those who have been converted from other beliefs. It does not matter what man was or thought. It's only important he is converted to cause.
Yeah? Well, how do you know Kolo won't turn on you the way he has on me?
Bring black man with us, Yen Sing.
At once, General Info. Come, you.
We do not know Mr. Bradley, but we are prepared for him to prove disloyal one time.
What? You're expecting Kolo to double-cross you once?
Not exactly expecting, but if he so desires, we are powerless to prevent him from doing so. Is that not true?
Well?
However, we can be certain there will be no second disloyal act.
Oh, you can? How?
The firing squad will assure us of that.
Next morning, Derek Bluger calls a special staff meeting. As usual, Shanghai Lil and Lin Poo are among those present.
Well, Lin Poo, what's this Nibs calling us together for this morning?
Shanghai Lil, that is not the way to speak of our most high superior.
Oh, I apologize. This isn't quite the place to speak of Derek in such terms because of his idolizers. But just the same, it's the way.
How can you speak so disrespectfully of one whom the men almost worship?
I can answer that in the words of one of your ancestors, Lin Poo. The saying is, no image maker worships the gods. He knows what they are made of.
Nevertheless, you will modify your words when General Bluger arrives.
It all depends on the mood I'm in. Oh, there's someone I want to see. I'll be back with you in a minute, Lin Poo.
Very well, Shanghai Lil.
Sentry?
Yes, Missy.
Did you give that cube to that man as you agreed?
Missy would like to know.
Huh? I wouldn't ask you if I didn't, would I?
How much does Missy want to know?
Another holdup, eh? How much can I be sure you're telling the truth?
Give me $5 more. I prove I tell truth. But you must give it right away.
All right. Come out in the hall, away from this crowd. Here's $5 Chinese. Now tell me what happened to that metal tube.
At end of sentry post, I turn. I throw two behind me. Man's voice say he got two. Will fasten to pigeon's leg and let fly.
You know what he was to do, all right. But how can I be sure that that conversation took place and that you did give him the tube?
Look, Missy. Man give me this.
Oh, a band from the pigeon's leg.
Yes, Missy. Missy, see, I do like she tells.
You did the job, but your price was too high.
What else Missy wants?
Stay outside this door for a minute. I'll be wanting you again.
That meeting will come to order. Where's the Thomas girl, Lin Poo?
She has been sent for, most high superior.
Ah, good. There you are, Lil. I was wondering what was keeping you.
A little business which may be of interest to you, Derek.
Yeah?
You made a speech the first day I came here in which you made your soldiers swear allegiance to you.
Yeah?
On penalty of death for treachery.
Well?
Do you really mean to execute any one of your men convicted of being a traitor?
I most certainly do. You know someone who has proved false to the oath of allegiance?
Yes.
Who is it? Name the man.
I'll show him to you. Come in here, sentry. General Bluger wants you.
Most High Superior.
Shanghai Lil, is this the man you accuse of treachery?
Yes, he's betrayed you, Derek.
You lie, Missy. Most High Superior, Master. White Missy is traitor. She
Search him, Derek.
Lin Fu, search the sentry. Take his rifle away from him.
Oh, no, got nothing, Tall. Nothing.
Most High Superior, the sentry has 25 Chinese dollars in his pocket.
White Missy, give me money.
You bet I did, Sentry, to test you. That's my $25. Give it to me.
You? What does this mean, Lil?
It means something I've been trying to get through your head for some time. Your boys aren't as loyal as you think.
Take him away, Yun-Sing. See that the prisoner is executed at once.
But Most High Superior...
Keep quiet, traitor. Money was found on you, and Shanghai Lil gave it to you to test you. Take him away, Yun-Sing.
Come along, Sentry.
Missy, you know I do this.
Shut up, you fool. I told you the price was too high.
Most High Superior, here, girl prisoner.
Silence!
What do you want with me now, Mr. Bluger? I suppose you're anxious to have this letter I've written to my father.
No, that's just what I sent for you about. You won't need to ask your father for money just yet.
What? You're not going to ask? What do you mean, Derek? I thought you were stony broke.
I've just received word from Chan Hu at Shanghai that he's raised $50,000 from sympathizers here and abroad.
Wonderful, Most High Superior, wonderful. When will our great uprising take place?
It has already started. Open that window, Lin Fu.
Yes, Most High Superior.
There goes our air squadron. All but one plane, which we will use as our headquarters.
When are we starting out, Derek?
At once. Men, report to your companies. And stand by for orders.
Most High Superior.
What is it, Lin Fu?
One of the leaders has turned back and is landing.
Engine trouble, most likely. But all planes were checked okay.
Must be catching.
What do you mean?
All your warbirds have the pip. They're all turning back and landing.
What?
This couldn't be a mutiny, could it, Derek?
Why has the air fleet turned back? Is this mutiny? The adventures you have just heard dramatized are pictured in full-color action pictures in the Comic Weekly. The big Comic Weekly distributed with your Hearst Sunday newspaper everywhere. In the world's greatest pictorial supplement of humor and adventure, the big Comic Weekly, you will find all the famous characters who live in the world of color pictures. There's Judge Piffle, Skippy, Bringing Up Father, the Katzenjammer Kids, Toots and Casper, Barney Google, Flash Gordon, and many, many others. Don't forget our date next week. Same time, same station for a continuation of the adventures of Jungle Jim.
August 29th, 1936, The Adventures of Jungle Jim on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting. You can also find links to the podcast sites that have our shows available. You can find links to our social media. You can contact me. And if you like the fact that we're adding additional shows, new great old radio shows to our lineup, buy me a coffee. That helps us acquire those great sets. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.